My name is Giles Vincent, and I'm the Director for Managed Services in Huawei. We all know that today, the mobile industry is moving at such a rapid pace, and increasingly, professional services is becoming more and more important. Traditionally, professional services has been used for network construction and operation and maintenance. But today, both operators and vendors are looking at professional services to see how we can improve applications, services, end user experience, and even end-to-end managed services. How will all this affect the development of telecom professional services? To try to address some of these questions that we have, let us talk to some of the leading industry analysts to see where professional services is today and where it's heading over the next few years. With the increasing importance of professional services, many vendors have said they would like to be services-led rather than the more traditional hardware-led. What is your take on this?
Well, I think that we're always going to have hardware-led solutions. I mean, there are always going to be cases where people need to integrate new equipment into their network. Say that they're expanding their radio access network, for example, and that's largely a hardware-led solution. But I think you're right. There is more of a services-led trend right now. And that has to do with the fact that people are looking more at business outcomes.
Well, certainly we've seen a shift in recent years of more demand for services-related models from telcos and other carrier model. But I think there's still a place in the market for both models. Managed service model provides the value-added services that are required for a value-added customer experience that includes things like customer care, operational billing support, and provisioning that are important for the overall customer experience, while other customers may be better adept at managing and provisioning those services within their organization. And for them, a hardware-based model will work quite well. Huawei is well positioned to benefit from both these trends and service providers, regardless of the direction of the market, for either hardware or services in the future.
And when you look at the situation of the hardware, the value of the hardware is actually diminishing. So you'd better find something else to recoup, the cost of developing and selling the hardware. So basically, that's a good move because you want to improve the profitability or keep up with the existing margins, so you need to add something else on the diminishing value of the hardware, and that's the notion of service.
This idea of being service-led really comes from the idea of trying to support the customer needs, not just trying to sell them products, but be a partner in the network, but also giving them the services they need to help their customers. So this idea of being service-led or hardware-led is this sort of false dichotomy of one or the other. You need to have good products to be a good service vendor, and ultimately you need to have both to really help your customers. One of the things that we've seen this year, very different from last year, is the evolution in Huawei's message and the evolution in Huawei's capabilities and services. I think if we look at the past, it was a very strong story from Huawei going back to this idea of products. We hear this topic of being a box dropper come up again and again and again. And Huawei had a strong services business in part because of the products, integrating, launching. I think what we've seen this year is a much different message about more complex services, learning services, managed services, business consulting, optimization, things that only come with experience, but are also very important to operators. I think maybe one other message that with us has resonated very well is this idea of seeing a new mix of personnel. So services is very much a people business because it's people that deliver those services. And what we've seen in the evolution for Huawei is more international employees, more people with different backgrounds that are necessary for helping the customer. I think that really positions the company very well and much better than it has in the past.